And my wife asked me, she's like, well, what's your demon? I was like, oh, interesting. Our topic today is a very powerful topic that confidence is not the beginning part. It's actually courage. Confidence is not as much as we think a choice. It's more of an effect of the thing. A lot like money is not the thing that you create, it's the effect of what you do. The leading becomes the facilitation of the vision that they're going towards. It's a bigger purpose behind it. That requires a certain amount of humility and vulnerability to say that, you know what, I could be wrong here. Tell me my challenges. And this is one of the things leaders, really good leaders, struggle with as well. Thank you for joining us here for this video. We've noticed that there are a certain percentage or a high percentage of our audience haven't subscribed to our channel. If you can please click on the button to subscribe to the channel, it will help us create more content. It will help us, which will help us reach more amazing people like you to support them, to serve them. So please click on the subscribe button and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye. Our topic today is a very powerful topic. I've already heard a few of you just actually talk about that, even in the way that you're sharing your lessons. And the topic goes like this: courage comes first, confidence follows. Courage comes first and confidence follows. A lot of times when we think of confidence, the confidence to show up, the confidence to be yourself, the confidence to be a great businessman, the confidence to lead your family or your community, the confidence to lead your team, the confidence to take risks. We think of confidence as the thing that helps you, but I look at confidence a lot like the effect. In fact, actually, this distinction came from one of my coaches, who said that confidence is not the beginning part. It's actually courage. Confidence is not as much as we think a choice. It's more of an effect of the thing. A lot like money is not the thing that you create. It's the effect of what you do. When you work on a business for a long time, a model for a long time, or you save or you invest or whatever, the money is the effect of that. Confidence is, in a lot of ways, is the effect of the moment by moment choices towards that you make that is courageous and bold. I'll share a quick story. Actually, I went upstairs. It's amazing how these synchronicities happen. I went upstairs about 30 minutes ago. My kids were sitting with my wife and they do their homeschooling stuff. They were making these drawings, and I sat there for a few minutes with them. And I asked them what was going on, and my wife was like, "Oh, we're drawing our demons." I'm like, "Huh, that's interesting. What's that?" And they were all drawing, and I could see somebody's drawing like a dark cloud over somebody's head. Another person is drawing. My little daughter's drawing all kinds of colors, and I asked her what that was. Like, "Oh, those are all my emotions." And my wife was like, "Oh, that's the dark color of my thinking, like just going all over the place," something to that effect. And they were all drawing every version of it. And my wife asked me, she's like, "Well, what's your demon?" I was like, "Oh, interesting." And I didn't have time to sit draw, but I explained it. I was like, "Well, what does your demon look like?" And I said, "It's like a big giant mountain of fear." And she's like, "What color is it?" It's black. It's dark. And what is it saying? It's like, "Well, you're not going to be able to climb it." And every day I show up to climb that impossible mountain. And that is the mountain of responsibility that I hold for my family, for my team, for my business, for my community, for the things that I model. I could be completely wrong. I could be completely going the wrong path. It's possible. I could be getting so many things wrong because I have gotten them wrong in the past. And that is something I have to kind of acknowledge to a certain degree. And there's a part of my mind that's incredibly afraid of breaking things down. But then there's another part of me that wakes up every morning, is thankful, and just shows up with courage and makes a choice to show up, even within that darkness of the cloud, of the mountain. Even in days when I don't see a way to climb over it. And we all have those demons within us and we all show up. And I want to talk about that choice that you make pretty much every day. And I want to talk about different angles of those choices that we make. And the way I've framed it is courage is the daily choice. Confidence is the effect of choices over time. And we actually have a term for it in psychology as well. It's the competence confidence loop. As you develop competence in whatever you're doing, you will naturally develop confidence, and then that confidence feeds the competence more. Example might be is that you might not know how to underwrite a deal, but you're making a choice, a courageous choice to sit down and figure this out and test it out with the risks that's involved, whether you learn it or not, then test it out in the real world. And over time, as you do this over and over and over and get feedback in the process, be part of a community and all that stuff, and do a couple of deals that might not be the greatest deals, over time, now you feel the confidence to show up and do more of this. So that's more of an effect that develops. But the day-to-day choices were more of courage that developed your competence in different areas. So I want to kind of go through different parts of your life because a lot of times, and speaking to what Greg said, it's the we don't take the time to reflect on the lessons that are learned in the day-to-day basis. And usually there's gold in our own experiences, in our own thought processes and emotions as we go through our life. So I want you to kind of locate these golden lessons. So one, you can learn from them quickly, and two, you can quickly pass it on to those around you, whether they be your children, your team members, your family, your community, whoever it might be. But unless you learn the lessons, it's very hard to not repeat the mistakes. And second, it's very hard to pass those on, whoever you're passing it on to. And my hope as a leader is that I pass on the lessons that I've learned as quickly as possible without destroying the thing that I'm trying to do. So, the first one of those areas that we make a choice, a courageous choice to show up is we can. And it is a choice. It is not an easy choice because as soon as you attach courage to any of these things, it is a hard thing to do. The first one is the courage to be. It's simply the courage to be yourself, which means that you want the choice that you're making every day when you show up is how can I be more of the thing, the person that I know that I am inside versus the person that I need to appear in front of others because of some societal pressure, whatever that might be. And that's the thing that stops a lot of people to do a lot of things. For example, they might not show up authentically in their own relationships. They might not show up as the person that they want to be. They might not show up with themselves. They might not even admit the things that are bothering them to themselves. One of the most the weirdest is most hard things to process, even as a coach on the other side. When I'm sitting down with clients, a lot of times when they share something, you can tell, and they will even say it, that I've never even acknowledged this to myself, that I want to be like this or I want to do this thing because they haven't even given themselves permission to be. And sometimes that permission is to go start something risky. Sometimes that permission is to just rest and not be controlled by our fears and so many things. Sometimes that's to just be left alone, to create a boundary that, you know what, I'm going to take that time for myself. Sometimes that's to express something, to draw or to write or to go for a walk, whatever that might be. I've had clients who, for example, they have moved to a whole different place, beautiful place they live in. People would die to be in those places. They end up moving there. After a few years, they forgot that there's a reason they wanted to be there. It was to be in nature, but they were stuck in an office every day. They had the means to do it, but they weren't giving themselves the permission to be because they didn't exercise the choice for courage, the courage to be. And then the second one I want to share is the courage to express. I need to fix this thing. The courage to express. What is that? There's something powerful and beautiful about the human mind is that we've developed a few ways to express ourselves. Some of those ways are similar to other animals, like our body language, our tonality, our the way our facial expressions look like. Those are very subconscious. A lot of times we can train ourselves to know how to show up in those ways. That's one form of communication. But I'm speaking a lot of times, um, and I went through this journey too, is where I didn't have the ability to express the complexity of what I was feeling inside with words and with actions. A lot of people struggle with that, and we've been given the gift of language, but we have not taught how to use that language. How do I express myself with the language, whether that's in writing, whether that's in speaking, or whether that's in sharing something? How do I express what is inside of me? For 30 years of my life, I didn't feel like anybody would ever understand what I had inside of me. I had this fear of being misunderstood. I had this fear of being judged. I had this fear of all kinds of stuff. So I didn't use the gift that I was given, the language, to express what was inside of me. Now that can show up in different forms. For some people, they might be a poet. For some people, they might be a writer. For some people, they might be speakers. For some people, it just might be in their day-to-day life. They're not expressing what's real for them. They might not be sharing that, you know what, I'm struggling with this thing. Or they might not be sharing that this is what I want out of my life. And I've seen people go through some horrendous things, from developing all kinds of illnesses that they themselves associate the cause to. Now we're learning from sciences that we can activate certain genes because we haven't dealt with certain emotions over time. I won't go into the detail of that, but there is a relationship between our nervous system, our biological system, and our thinking process and how we express ourselves. There are people who have sacrificed, quote unquote, sacrificed their lives by simply just not expressing that this is the kind of life that I want, because they were afraid that they would not be accepted if they shared that thing. And it has for example, for the longest time, I used to feel this tension in my throat, this tension where I didn't know what that was. And as soon as I started expressing myself more, I realized that that tension started going away. It was literally my body telling me to express what's on your mind. And we also live in a world where expressing yourself can sometimes feel like it'll get people in trouble. And that's not just out in social media, like even with your own loved ones. That's not a good place to be in. And that means thinking about, how do you want to structure your family, your community, your team? How open do you want to be with them? And do you want it to be created in the image of the greater society that might be corrupt? Do you want to create? So that is an important. So it takes courage to express what is important to you. And again, all none of these are easy. The the next one is the courage to lead. And this is one of the identities that I actually purposely give to every member that comes into our community. Even if they don't think of themselves as a leader, I will tell them the first person you're leading is yourself, even if you don't think you're leading anybody else. And then the next step is, how are you going to lead others? And that is a choice. And it's going to come with all kinds of fearful thoughts, like, who am I to lead? Who am I to do this? Or what if I can't lead them? What if I mess this up? And that was the mountain that I'm talking about when I started thinking of myself as a leader, not with the idea that, oh, I need to make sure I lead. These people need to listen to me and I have the authority. It's more like, how can I serve the people around me? How can I lead them towards a positive direction? So I had the sense of contribution in mind, but what if I'm wrong in the process? What if I take the wrong risks? What if I put my family at risk? What if I put my community at risk? What if I put my team at risk? If I, these are all like real challenges. This is why it takes the courage takes courage to show up and lead yourself every day and also lead those around you. It's a choice. And then confidence to lead comes much later on. Next one is courage to contribute, which I think is connected to leadership. Because if you take somebody who says, you know what, I've accepted my choice to lead my family, but there is no sense of contribution and service involved in there, it almost always comes from ego, from a place of, I want to be right. I want to take them where I want to take them. But there's little service and contribution, which means that you're not even thinking about the needs of the people around you, whether it's the needs of the individual people in your family, in your community, in your team, or the need of the organization or community, whatever it might be. You're thinking about, oh, how am I going to look if I lead these people? That's where a lot of ego will come in. So It takes courage to think about leading other people and knowing the consequences of those things. For example, that could be in your home with your kids. I can almost guarantee everybody, no matter what direction they're taking their children, there will be parts of it you're going to get wrong. You're going to parts of it you're going to break down. If you're leading a team, you're going to mess things up. If you're leading a business, you're going to mess things up. But what I look for is a net positive effect. And I think the reason why I look for that is because one, I have to acknowledge that I'm a human being. I'm going to make mistakes. Two, I'm going to have to acknowledge that I'm a part of an ecosystem that I need to serve. That could be my family, team, community, whatever that is. And I need to do my part. And if that intention is not there, leading almost always goes towards let me gratify myself from an egoic perspective. And everybody has the potential, including me, to go towards there. The next one, which comes hand in hand, is the courage to be vulnerable. What does that mean? I've written a few things, and a lot of times when we think of vulnerability, we think of showing emotional expression of some kind. It's not just that. It could be that, but it could be the courage to admit that you're wrong. It could be the courage to say sorry for what you did, to show remorse. It could be the courage to admit that you don't know something, you need support. It could be the courage to say that, you know what, I'm struggling with this thing. And a lot of leaders struggle with that because they feel like they need to know everything. But some of the best leaders I've seen is they actually always go back to their team and say, you know what, here are the things that I know and here are the things that I don't know. Let's work together on this. The leading becomes the facilitation of the vision that they're going towards. It's a bigger purpose behind it. That requires a certain amount of humility and vulnerability to say that, you know what, I could be wrong here. Tell me my challenges. And this is one of the things leaders, really good leaders, struggle with as well, because they will say that, and the people don't trust them enough to say that, you know what, no, you're wrong in this area. This is not the right way to go about things. Or this is the thing that I see that could be a challenge and you're not seeing it. They haven't created enough of a safe environment for them to get the feedback that they need to lead. So a lot of really good leaders, they try their best to find out how can I create that safety so I get the right feedback, because I can't see everything. I have the blind spots all around me. And finally, this is the thing that I want everybody, regardless of what they're doing, where they are at, they're doing this day to day. The courage to show up and continue. You wake up every day and you fight the same battles that you were fighting the day before. And you've been doing it for weeks and months. That's the battle to deal with your internal challenges, your thoughts, your body, your emotions. That's the battle to figure out how you communicate the things that matter to you. That's the battle to figure out how to understand other people around you. That's the battle to show up even when things get difficult, whether those difficulties are financial, whether those difficulties are when there's illness in the family or there's death in the family. That's the battle to wake up every day and still have the intention to be grateful no matter what's going on. And you work through everything by showing up and continuing. It takes courage to do that. There are people who check out, there are people who give up. And there are lots of people like that. But the fact that you're showing up is important and it matters to you or to somebody in your life. They might not even express that today. It might be decades later. It might be after you're gone that they express that gratitude. One of the most powerful things that I've seen is leaders who were there thousands of years ago. Most people didn't even care about them at the time. They had very small followers. I mean, one famous character is Jesus, for example. If you take the character of Jesus, he had very few followers when he was alive. Now, hundreds of millions of people now follow his message. Why? It wasn't important for people to follow at the time. What was important for him was to have the courage to deliver that message. Same thing with lots of other people like Socrates. He was not the most famous person. In fact, he was looked at negatively. Same thing with lots of other leaders that if you have any leader that you admire, and I can almost guarantee that the first few years of their life as a leader recognized was a very difficult time. And they accepted it because they understood that the bigger mission and purpose was important for them. And I'm giving those big extreme models, but in your life, in your family, you might have to do that And you might have to pause on people recognizing the efforts. I'm not saying don't ask for the recognition or acknowledgement. You can do that. But you might not get the real recognition much later on. And that takes courage to show up because you know in your heart, in your conscience, that you're showing up with a purpose because it is important to you in your value system, not because of something other people are doing. You show up in your life, in your business, in your sense of mission and purpose because you show up like that. And all these pieces takes courage, moment by moment decisions that add up to you developing confidence in yourself. And speaking to Greg's point, confidence in your own intuition, confidence in to lead your family, confidence to connect with people, confidence to take risks, confidence to lots of things that is essential for you to move forward. And also, last point, this is one of the categories, and when you look at high performers, this has been researched a lot. One, uh, one out of five categories that is essential for them to create the life worth living and advancing way above the average than most people. And we're talking about top 15% of the world's highest performers. One of the things that they think about consistently is how can I show up with courage? That's why two of the words that I have, and even my one of my identity words, when I realized this, was, you know what, I'm gonna show up boldly no matter what. And then even my one of my words on my success side is bold action. If I'm not showing up boldly, whether it's the way that I express, the way I show up, or I'm not taking bold action, then I'm not measuring the right things. And both of those are choices.